You're listening to The Talent Sync, a collaborative podcast production about anything and everything recruiting and hiring. Literally the kitchen sink on how all things in talent acquisition work together, should work together, and how sometimes they don't. Now it's time to sync up with your hosts, Leah Daniels and Kevin Grossman. Today's episode is about Reconstructing Unicorns. Enjoy the podcast. Hello, Leah. How are you doing?
Welcome
to
end of February.
Oh my gosh.
Mr. Grossman.
I know, right?
End of over February, in a blink.
And you have got like 8,000 feet of snow, and I have 75-degree weather today.
Oh, thank you for rubbing that in.
I know. Well, I mean, yes. And we have our tree trimmers are actually coming. We have a Japanese maple that I'm looking at out in our backyard right now that we skipped last year. You know, you're supposed to like trim them a little bit. And it's already blooming. But they assured me, the tree company assured me that it's still okay to trim at this point. I'm like, okay, well, that's what you do for a living. So it's above my pay grade, so I'm going to let you do that. But yeah, you're just freezing, aren't you?
Well, it's funny. I have, overseas colleagues. And so I'm getting really good at learning what Fahrenheit translates to in Celsius and saying things like, well, it's -8 Celsius today. Oh. And they all go, oh. So I speak.
Yeah. Just the fact that you said negative, that tells me it's cold. So I'm good.
It's always cold.
The negative part covered that for me. Oh my gosh.
Well, and I came home, Kevin, just in time because I was enjoying 92-degree Fahrenheit weather last week.
Oh, I know, because you were in lovely Central America, Costa Rica, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We did a little family trip to Costa Rica. Nice. I highly recommend it. Everyone, you should go. But it's funny because I was thinking about, we went sloth hunting, not to kill them, just to find them. And I don't know if anyone has tried to find a sloth in a tree that's what feels like 300 feet in the air, right? And you don't exactly know where to look. You know that there is a sloth in that tree because the guide has told you there's a sloth in that tree, and you've got binoculars and your phone and all the things. You can't find this thing, but it's in the tree. You know it's there. You know it exists.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this. I'm like, it feels like hiring right now. Like, I want to find a sloth. I'm in the woods. There is a sloth in this woods. I'm sure of it.
But, however, you don't have. Like you told me that you had a howler monkey throw a spear at you.
We did,
right?
And a boa constrictor come flying by.
That can be part of the hiring market at times too. And lastly, I remember my wife and I went, like I told you before we started recording a long time ago, and didn't have a spear thrown at us, but had howler monkeys throwing lots of things at us from the tree.
Yes, typically they do that.
Yeah, that's pretty standard, and you gotta get out of there quickly. But yes, I mean, you're segueing to hiring, right? That's what we want to talk about.
Yeah,
today.
I think it's time to talk about the fact that some of the data that's coming out right now from 2025, because we're well in 2026, indicates that hiring time to fill is lengthening. I read a report. Went from 47 days to 68 days. That is a non-trivial jump,
right?
In time to fill, and
significant, yeah.
And we see that at the same time as more candidates on the market, allegedly. Even though we're seeing that unemployment seems a bit flat, slightly up, but yet from a more of a just talking to people in the market, right? The general sentiment is that unemployment is up. More people are looking. People who are in their job aren't looking. There's a lot of, what was the word we were using? Job hugging. job hugging happening.
That is not our word, by the way. That was another media creative. And I know there's always the stuff, the great resignation, the great freeze, I mean, job hungry. But yes, people are, yes. I mean, there are more people sitting, no matter how happy or unhappy they are in
And
their
then
positions.
I just had a conversation today with a large employer, and they are trying to figure out, they've got three groups of candidates. They've got people who are applying for real. They can tell they're real. They call them, they call back. There's no ghosting. Everybody's happy. There are candidates that are applying through automated technology or
Yeah.
AI bots, and less responsive, challenges with that group, some weird answers. And then, she said to me that we've got a third group. We have had a non-trivial number of people who, upon digging in, are in North Korea. And so we're starting thinking about those fraudulent candidates, actual fraud, right?
Yes.
Where they have a nefarious perspective. So you've got this really interesting dynamic that is brewing, where candidates are using all sorts of mechanisms to try to get seen. Companies are looking for the super worker, like not just a unicorn. I need a unicorn in the job I'm looking for, but also I'd really like you to be a unicorn in AI too. That'd be great. You could be both unicorns, two unicorns. If you could be two unicorns in one person, um, and recruiters are out looking for this person. It's like me looking for a sloth in a 300-foot tree, right? Like, go find the sloth in the forest. It's really hard to do. Is it
It
impossible? No, but is it hard? Yeah, it's hard.
Well, I mean, there are always like so there's it depends on what you're hiring for. And also it depends on how down to earth and aligned your hiring managers are with the TA team at the intake stage of what is it that we're looking for and why. And what input that maybe TA is giving to the hiring managers. Like, I don't think that person exists out there. I remember a few years ago at a workshop that I did where the head of sourcing at Northrop Grumman at the time, I don't think he's there anymore, but was telling us a story about how he was asked, and I can't remember what the language, it was very, very hard to fill specific technology position. And he said that he was asked, listen, we need to hire 40 of these people and they need to be in LA and within 6 months or in the Southern California at one of their sites. And from his own experience and after doing the research, what he knew, there were less than 20 in the United States that even existed with with those skills. Um, and I don't know. I actually don't know the end story of this because I don't know how he ended up doing with that. But that was kind of his shared with us at the end of the day. But I mean, I think we what's going on though? I mean, why is there? I mean, for ongoing, regular, evergreen, continuous hiring, that's probably. I mean, AI is impacting that, yes. But for the fewer salary professional management senior leadership roles that are available out there, and it is a rough market for those individuals, rougher than probably definitely for even hourly advance in manufacturing, which there's still a lot of jobs that aren't being filled, period. I guess the question though is like, what anybody who's been in recruitment for any length of time knows it all starts from the drawing board. What is it? Who are we looking for? What are the skills that are needed? And I know we talk about skills-based hiring, and it's something that's being talked about more again today. But that's not new. And maybe AI can help us get better in that regard in the targeting the skills base. But what's happening if we're take AI out even that we're looking for people that don't exist. I mean, I know these are really smart companies that you and I have worked with and mid-sized to global enterprise TA teams, but when you hear those stories, it is kind of a head scratcher, right? Like
It's
why is
funny
it
because
slipping? Why is it slipping like that?
but it's history repeating itself, right? Like, we could go back in time and we would have had the same conversation
Yeah.
every time the economy kind of slips a little, you see the hiring requirements take a uh,
That's true.
disproportionately large jump, right? So two things happen. One, we make the requirements more onerous in terms of just what do you have to have for a set of skills? Like you have to become a unicorn to even be qualified. And then we do a second thing, which is we create more hurdles in the process. And we do that through two things, right? We ask more questions up front. We try to do all the onboarding up front. We're like, hey, welcome to our company.
Yeah.
Would you please give us a social security number, your bank account details, your routing number? Like, whoa, we just met. I don't even know if I want this job yet, right? And we're asking for maybe a little too much up front. But that also then bleeds into the hiring process. I talked to somebody the other day. They're on their seventh interview round.
Yeah.
Seven. And they said to me, what do you think they're interviewing for now? I'm like, oh, now this is just like consensus and making sure everybody feels good. You are well past it. I don't know how many people are in your round, but they've already made a decision. And if they haven't, then they need to start all over because you're way too into this at this point in time, right? So there is this thing where companies will add these extra layers to make them feel confident in the decision they're making,
But
which is great, but also interesting, right? Data shows that the more you put into the decision making, the less happy you are with the decision. So
sure,
they're kind of having a counterbalance or a counteract. They're not actually accomplishing what they're trying to accomplish in that
and
process.
maybe the part of the thinking on the hiring manager part is that, well, I have the advantage because it's not a great candidate market, so we can take the time to do that because these individuals may, again, hard to fill positions, I would argue, are still competitive, and these people have other choices and options and probably offers too. But I think there's a one of the companies we work with, large global organization. The head of TA shared this great funny video with me that was she found on Instagram. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's about this person who has been like is on his I don't know 160th interview with the same company. And it's a joke. Like for the past 2 years, he's been interviewing. They hired a professional interviewer just for him because they keep calling him back. It's really funny. And they're friends now and they hang out, they go to ball games together, they live together. I mean, it gets really, absurd, right? But the whole point is of it, the funniness is why is that necessary? I mean, I know that's not necessarily new. Anybody who's worked in TA for any length of time knows that sometimes they've probably run into that where, well, we need another round or we need to see some more candidates and do it again and again. And maybe you can take advantage of that when you are in a more anemic market, but I mean, I don't know if that's really helping you make the best decision at the end of the day. I mean,
Well, I think you're in danger as a business of slipping into areas where you are starting to do things that are not legal. So
right.
the more and more things you put in the way, at some point you then ask them to do work product. And now you've moved into unpaid workforce, right?
Yeah,
Where
that's
you're
true. Yeah.
asking your candidates to no longer just interview for potential. You are now asking them to do work product unpaid. And that is where I think this kind of economy lends itself to bad behavior on hiring managers' part because they're like, well, I want to see how they do in a real life situation. So I'm going to give them this problem that we have right now, right? Which you're not allowed to do. And so there
Is
is
it?
that piece.
I thought those were called internships, right? I thought
Well,
weren't
yeah, you
those
gotta label that
internships
though.
no, but what I mean is though, I think but I said that also tongue in cheek because of the fact that it's such a horrible new, and will probably be so again a new grad market this year, as much as it was bad last year. And that's another part of this is that if you think about the unicorns that we're talking about, right? That the individuals that are hard to find and we really need them, that's what we're looking for. And you know, what the discussions about potential, I haven't heard that for a long time, but we're kind of decimating the entry level market, aren't we? If and I know AI is definitely a part of that, I understand, but it's also the correct I keep also reading on in other economic circles that it's the continuous correction from the pandemic and the
There
hiring.
is that's from, in my opinion, very real.
Yeah,
We overhired aggressively in certain areas. for two
especially
reasons. One
tech.
because money was free, right?
Yeah,
You could get a loan for nothing.
correct.
And so and
What
then
was that
in
called again? The because even my small organization, the PPT, what was it called? The PPT loans, where to help
oh
pay for payroll. I
I,
can't.
I can't remember either. I've got the
We
small business
we
loans. Yeah.
received a small one too when for
But it
talent board when we were still talent board back in the
but it
day.
wasn't just
Anyway,
that. It was also the interest rates were so low
yes, that's
that you
another thing,
could,
right?
right? And so I think the combination of those, we did overhire, and in that overhiring, one of the things that we did as a society is we actually pulled the upper portion of the hourly market into a professional market. So we actually rebalanced the hourly and
Interesting.
professional sort of line, or what I usually call a a desk or
You're
a
talking about
desk worker.
wage growth, or you're talking about
See, I'm talking about somebody who may have worked in a restaurant,
yeah.
now taking a 9 to 5 customer service role,
Okay, so I got it. Yes, got it.
right? And so,
Okay,
when you pull up that percentage, that many of those folks are like, I don't want to go back to working in a restaurant
right,
or retail or driving
right.
for UPS or whatever it might be. So now you have this group of people who are gainfully employed in a 9 to 5, and the company's happy to keep them, and they're happy to be there.
Yeah,
And so they pushed other people up. That's actually the squeeze, is the people not at that entry level, but kind of just above it, that we are seeing more and more
got it.
in the
That makes
unemployment
sense.
market.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we have this sort of economic problem where by pulling people out of the hourly workforce, we have a continuing gap in the hourly workforce and now a squeeze at the professional level. That isn't going to change just because the market's gotten a little harder, right? That's not going to go, it's not going to correct itself the way we would normally think about a
sure.
correction.
But yes, and I agree with all of that, and that's my take too. But but white collar knowledge worker entry level has definitely been reduced dramatically. And the opportunities.
100%.
You're listening to the Talent Sink. Keep on sinking. With us, not really sink with us. Thank you. What do your candidates think of your recruiting process? The annual Candy Benchmark Research and Awards program helps you and your organization measure and understand your overall candidate experience ratings from pre-application to onboarding. Benchmark your candidate experience today. Go to surveil.com/candies, CANDES. And when I think about our own children and our oldest who wants to be a teacher, that's good. There's opportunity there. We need teachers. We still have a public school system that's intact,
Yep.
for the most part,
Well,
and
and I think we learned that virtual learning for 6-year-olds is probably
no.
not the
Well,
path.
sure. And again, right. And I mean, sure. As my dad used to say, shouldas and couldas don't mean squat, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, yes, that's exactly true. And by the way, and I don't want to get, but this doesn't it is still along the same lines of what we're talking about. But you know, the one of the school board issues that we're facing in our district right now, or that was, we just had an updated presentation on our tech task force, which has been, and it's a combination of parents, teachers, administrators, talking about the state of AI and how we're applying it in our district, and how we're using it to teach and train
Yep.
our students, and eventually that will be in the workforce going forward. And there's a lot of parental concern, and warranted, because we're thankfully our kids actually give us a bad time for using AI. By the way, they totally like, because of like the power that's being gobbled up, the energy that's needed to
Yep.
power AI. And anyway, but my whole point is that this um, there's a lot of concern about um, we're losing critical thinking, and I mean all these things play into a future workforce, right? Of what happens in education today. And um, anyway, I didn't want to go too much down a rabbit
I
hole, but
but I think it's an interesting. observation about losing critical thinking. That was happening before AI, Gen AI
Sure. I
hit
mean,
the
that's been,
market.
yes, that's been
It's been a
yes,
it's
a
been a
criticism.
degradation for a while, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
actually wonder if, and nothing happens overnight, but because Gen AI can be so creative at times, we might actually have a self-correction the other way, where people get burned by the AI saying something silly and them not reading it or consuming it enough that we do actually create better critical thinkers, at least in some capacity, right? Where you start to question what's being sent to you, because the amount of, what do they call it, work slop or AI slop,
Yeah.
that I'm calling it app slop, by the way, now, when you have lots of AI
Sure.
garbage resumes.
Yeah. All right.
Um, but start to see that enough, you're going to have to become critical thinking about what you're looking at. So I do wonder if we might see a almost natural correction because of the egregious nature in which the AI can create falsehoods.
You are correct, and this relates to not only K through 12 education, but for training future workforces and for looking for a job. That AI escalation of I want to be found and seen, and so I'm going to make everything look like I'm the unicorn, and then the employer is going
Yep.
to have to use AI to try to undecipher or decipher whether or not I am a unicorn or not. But I do think that maybe some we're gonna I think we're gonna see, and I'm already seeing this in education, some old school assessment techniques. I say old school, it's not that old, but remember the old blue book essay, for example,
Yep.
right? Where you're not on the computer, you're not on the screen, you're going to write what you know in this written paper document thing and tell me what you know, and that's what I'm going to base my assessment on. And I do think that we, to your point, we will see some turn back to some non-AI augmented screening,
Yep.
potentially at least. And I think that's the one of the only ways that we're going to be able to truly know if somebody is a unicorn or not, right? I mean,
I think, isn't that what you want to do though in your interviewing as we go forward? You're going to want to assess someone for who they are at a baseline, and you want to assess how they operate with tools. It's
yes,
kind of like, I want to know if you can do math, but I also want to know if you can use Excel, right? Like, because Excel isn't going to cover up if you're terrible at things, but it will make you faster, better, smarter, and able to computate more data if you're using Excel. So, I mean, it's an old school reference, but I want to see you under both circumstances. Isn't that where we're headed anyway with candidates? Like, I want to see you for who you are, and I want to see you with AI and what you can do with it.
yeah. Right. Right. And that's, I mean, and that's another thing that what we're doing either on the K through 12 level. And when I think about the world of work too, is that just like every technological disruption we've had in the history of humankind, um, we're going to have to know how to use it, not to let it. I mean, again, I think this is the concern of parents is like, I don't want it to do the work, but I want it to be tools to help me do research and to help me, but not do the work. I need to do the work as the human. And I think that's the same thing with screening and interviewing. I mean, even whether it's a human, and by the way, I mean, whether it's a human or it's an AI avatar that's interviewing me, how am I being assessed? So I can't game the system and I can truly know as the hiring party of whether this person has most, if not everything I need, whether I want to call them a unicorn or not, I've got to be able to discern that, right? And fighting AI with AI is is we're going to have to uncouple that somehow, some way, in the way we're doing screening and assessments, I think, and interviewing too.
I think that is going to be the big thing for 2026, right?
Yeah,
How do we discern all of this? And how do we use AI as companies and as recruiters ethically and legally, as we are finding, more and more um, lawsuits kind of bubble up and appear, and there's questions about where and how can you use this kind of data,
yeah,
and to what degree do you need to be transparent about it, and to what degree do you need to allow someone to say, I disagree with your outcome.
right.
I disagree with what this says. I think that is to your original question at the beginning of this talk we were just having is, do we have to start to think about this whole thing completely differently? Because I had this, maybe I've told you this before. I have a colleague who said to me, he was, worked at very large companies as a head of TA, had a global TA, and he's
Yeah,
like, you got to remember that the TA leader didn't pick the hiring goals, doesn't pick the jobs they're going to get worked on, didn't pick the technology they're using, right? Here's your ATS. You'll love it. It's
right,
part of our
right.
HRIS system,
Hmm.
right? So didn't pick the budget. And oh, by the way, also compliance.
Yeah,
So by the time they're done, 3 out of their 4 limbs are already held down by some force that's outside of their control,
that's
and
true.
they are fighting windmills with a foam rubber sword and doing the best darn job they can do. And I think this is another thing that's just piling on to an already fragile system in recruiting that's so human heavy. And we've tried to automate human processes for years. And, maybe this is the thing. I don't know. This is the thing that breaks their teams, and they have to revisit this whole process and say, maybe we do this totally different.
That is a great way because my head just exploded. Really, it just. I mean, no, because I think that you're right, and I think because then the question for the TA leader and their teams is from leadership is, wait, why is our time to fill slipping? Why are we not filling these roles? What are the reasons? And it's a combination of all those things that we're talking about. But I do think it has to be we have to rethink how we are identifying what we need for a role, just the nature of work. There's a guy, I'll end on this and then we can wrap too, that there's a gentleman named Dart Lindsley. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's got a podcast called Humans at Work, I think. I have to verify that. He lives in Santa Cruz. He's a great guy. He was a longtime HR leader and has been in talent acquisition and really smart. And he interviews a lot of people that are in and are outside of our usual space,
Hmm.
talking about the nature of work and rethinking work. And I think a lot of the things that I've at least heard of what he's saying and the guests that he has on, that we have to have these conversations because I think you're right. I think AI is the breaking point actually. Um, for where we're at and why we need to rethink
Well, and
how
work
we're
for
hiring for what we're hiring for, um, on whether you're a small mom and pop shop to a global enterprise. I mean, I really think that gosh, that's the case. We got to go because my brain is actually falling out of my head right now,
Well, that's
Leah.
not good. Both
It's
hands, hold it in.
I'm gonna
Work
hold
for
it
Humans
now.
is
No, I mean,
the
because
podcast you're referring to.
this is why I love our conversations, and I hope everybody out there continues to get synced with the talent sync and all the things that we talk about, recruiting, hiring, and more. And we thank you for listening, right, Leah? And
Yeah. Good luck, everybody out there. We'll send you your foam swords.
yeah, we will. And
All
until next time,
right.
we'll talk to you soon. All
All right.
right.
Sounds good. Bye now.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Talent Sync podcast, a Surveil Candy and Job Sync collaboration. More episodes soon. Subscribe to our podcast via your favorite podcast player today.